So I really didn't have anything else that I wanted to jump on for, and then I hop on YouTube and there's like 5 or 6 news stories that are just like all coinciding today that really caught my attention, and the first of which was kind of silly, was Meek Mill and his like tactless sort of mention of the helicopter accident that Kobe Bryant and his daughter died in, and Vanessa Bryant, Kobe's widowed wife, um, her comeback and sort of her sort of addressing that in a very classy way. But I don't know much about Meek Mill. I don't know much about his music. I don't know much about who he is as a person, but he seems to often come up in like infamy. And I just feel like when it comes to being famous and talking about other famous people, especially when it comes to a tragedy, it's probably best to just not, because it just appears like clout chasing based on the tragedy, which is like completely. I mean, I just that's just there's no way around that to make it look good. I just don't even understand. Like, there's nothing honoring about that or exalting about that. It's just not a great look. It feels gross and kind of slimy and profiteering, and just I don't. Like I said, I don't know much about the guy, but I know he's not from LA, and I know that what I heard of the line, that it was very tactless. So I hope that they edit it out, and I hope that um, this isn't some hill he's willing to die on about artistic expression. Because um, I don't know. I just feel like hip hop culture is like the capitalism is just it's just too much. It's really eating the art form. Um, it's eating our culture. Um, anyways, um, Tiger Woods is in the hospital from a car accident like 2 weeks after his documentary premiere. And I have to think those things kind of coincide. Like, whenever certain people, like, they end up in the spotlight or the spotlight comes back on them, and I think it makes them like manic. It makes them do things they wouldn't normally do. Um it's something about certain personality types that they just kind of double down when you think they should be, so like ease off. Like, now would be a good time to, like, when you're back in the spotlight or your name is like kind of everywhere, now would be a good time to probably like chill out and like go like take a vacation somewhere. But like, no, he's like, I don't know. I just think it does, drive them to make more mistakes when they think more people are watching them. It's like being socially awkward, but like on with like a magnifying glass on top of you. Um, so that happened. Then like three of the stories that crept up from BLM kind of like circled back around this week or today even. Ahmaud Arbery's mother filed suit against Glenn County, Georgia. I believe it's Glenn County, Georgia. This is the year anniversary of his death. Elijah McClain's autopsy report was released, and it shows that not just not the autopsy report, but I believe the case file was released, and it's not just that there was too high a level of ketamine put into his system, as one thing, but there's like not really a regulation of when that should be administered, who should administer it. Should it be something that EMTs do? Should it be done on the street? Um, but most glaring of all, there was no lawful reason to stop the boy in the first place. And I can only imagine, as a person who's introverted and minding your business, and to be pounced upon by aggressive men with, weapons, and um, how jarring and frightening that must have been. And I think the main overarching um, theme of what is happening in American culture is that there is um, just a lack of understanding that people have differing abilities. That just because you're shouting orders doesn't mean the person can hear in the first place. It doesn't mean that they have the ability to respond in the speed with which you would require them to respond. It doesn't mean that they speak the language you're speaking, and all of those things should not mean that you get to be frustrated and further aggress. But as I just mentioned in the Tiger Woods story, I feel like certain people, when the spotlight's on them, when the action gets going, they they go manic. They double down. They get more aggressive. They get drunk on adrenaline and lose track of space and time. And I think those people need to be weeded out. I think if you are an officer of the law and you find yourself in a situation where you've lost control and it's ended up in somebody's death, that should be automatic disqualification for that type of work. Speaking of which, Matt Gugino, I believe his name is, the 75-year-old who was pushed down by the Buffalo police during the protest last year and cracked his skull and injured his brain. Those cops weren't indicted, but apparently, Matt is, pursuing other um, forms of, restitution. And I hope that they give it to him. If you can live with yourself after pushing down a 75-year-old and watching them bleed out on the sidewalk and not immediately administering first aid to them, um, I don't understand why you would want that type of person as a public servant. Like, if you're that dead inside that you could push down an old person and step over them, um, I'm gonna need you not to be protecting and serving anybody. Uh, you don't even get a segue in the mall. You need to go work with, like, be a bricklayer or something. Like, go handle inanimate objects. You should not be anywhere where human lives are in your hands. Um, but all that happened this week. Matt Gugino, Elijah McClain's report, and the anniversary of Ahmaud Arbery's death. In lighter news, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, expecting baby number two, have a new special coming with an interview with Oprah this Sunday, I believe. And I didn't even know this was happening. But there's controversy because apparently it's Commonwealth Day, and there's a lot of royals who are doing um, television appearances on the same day. It's kind of like I guess they're going to conflict, but I don't know how to conflict. I mean, it just sounds like one big royal day, and so it's going to be a lot of focus on them. I see it as a publicity bonus for it to be, the Queen's address and several royals on TV, and then they get the spotlight with a interview with one of the most famous interviews in the world. So I think it's a win for them. Um, I'm interested to hear what their time in America has been like as opposed to their time in Britain, and how much happier or relaxed, or maybe not so much. Maybe they are a little, maybe it has been a little rougher than they expected. Um, I think either way, they live in a bubble, and even though that bubble might be prettier in California, it still might not be all that the princess expected it to be. It might just be, I don't know. I'm like reading those nonverbals when royals talk. Um, but Meghan Markle, man, that is one interesting story. She that is a fairy tale. That is what you read about. Yeah. Um, there were other things on my mind. The market crash. You know, I'm not really paying attention to it because what I do know about the stock market is just like, people get real around tax time. And once they reassess and get their credits and everything, their refunds and everything sort of like the report season is done, all that stuff is over, then they can start spending more and doing shifting resources around. And I think this year with pandemic and the government programs and the financing and so forth from that, I think you're just going to see shifting resources towards things that are a little bit more less brick and mortar, or they're going to be, it's going to be more about smaller and more, like kind of like Tokyo. It's going to be more little places with more specialized. They're going to be more competitive and smaller. Like you'll go to a restaurant, there will be only 10 seats, and you go there for something special with a chef that does what they do. And you know all the sort of fast foody type of places, they're going to sort of get they're going to get kind of pushed to the side. And like more food trucks I think are going to come. I think there's going to be a lot more like just sort of consolidated events, like movies, more movie theaters, maybe again, like smaller movie theaters. I just feel like I see things getting smaller, more specialized, and more competitive, and giving people more options. um, what else? So yeah, that's just the market crash, or whatever they want to call it, just for the drama of the publicity. um what else was I thinking about today? It was just a big news day. It was just like a lot of things going on, and I really wanted to like capture this, and my little whatever the hell experiment this is right here. um Daft Punk broke up. Now, I don't care what you listen to, Daft Punk has touched every genre of music. They've touched dance, pop, hip hop. Um, they have they've revolutionized the American sound of a party, basically. Like that's how we party. Like that is disco, that is yacht rock, that is electronica, that is rave, that is hip hop. That is what Daft Punk gave to us. Um, and apparently they broke up. I have been around long enough to have seen them, and I know how to find them on the internet without their masks on. I've been a fan since 1993. Um, their mystery has been whether or not they are a group or not, and if they're just a collaboration project or what they really are. I think that's the best way to go to be famous, honestly. Just sort of do your work and put it out there, and um, be as great as you want to be, and be as impactful as you want to be, and kind of like touch and go. And now, if they say they want to be over and done, that's great. I mean, I still feel like there's a lot more Daft Punk music out there to be discovered, and it doesn't really matter whether or not they're like, I guess, touring or big act or not. Like, there's other groups in that sort of form, DJ collectives that have dispersed and given birth to other careers. But I think right now, without the festivals, it's really kind of no reason to keep that going. It's just make room for new talent. Um, so what else? I can't really think of anything else. I'm not a Real Housewives person, so I'm not talking about that mess. I used to be. I'm not above it, but I really don't care about this season. I'm just not watching it. And yeah, so see you guys later.